Mind you, this is a 49-year-old African-American woman with an 11-year-old daughter. Blakeney was accompanied by several other Pine Lawn officers, which there were many, but Britton was one. Ms. Brown, the owner of the residence, and Ms. Brown stated that she did not, they were looking for Zimmerman, which was her husband, boyfriend, not sure. Hold on a second, I can't see. Other Pine Lawn officers, Detective Lawrence Fleming, Officer Brian Britton, they called him Britton, Officer Felicia Shelton, Officer Steve Lauman, Blakeney, asked Ms. Brown the whereabouts of Ronald Zimmerman, the owner of the residence, and Ms. Brown stated she did not know. Blakeney then yelled at Ms. Brown, demanding she give him information about Zimmerman. He told her if she did not provide the information, he would write her a summons. She would have to pay significant sums of money. Let's all be reminded we're in Pine Lawn. She would have to pay significant sums of money, and the police officers would continue to come to the residence and harass her. 2 days ago, I have Britton, so I turned in my report on my arrest from August 1st on Saturday to Joel Fan. Was it yesterday? No, 2 days ago. He was at the top of my street, literally watching my home with my daughter in my hands.
It was Monday, the first day back on patrol.
So, they come to her house and harass her. When Ms. Brown did not provide him with the information, Blakeney told her to produce proof of her identification so he could write her a summons. Blah, 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 blah. Ms. Brown was shocked and frightened, and she came out into the porch, closing those doors behind her. Blakeney shouted, "Arrest her." Britton, using great force, yanked Ms. Brown's arms behind her back. Kind of like what he did to me, right? Handcuffed her and had her walk to the patrol car. Ms. Brown was not wearing shoes and did not have her cane. Shelton escorted her to the patrol car and carried her cane. Both Shelton and Ms. Brown stated Ms. Brown needed her shoes and cane to walk safely and comfortably, and Britton responded, "She's gonna walk today." Lauman and Fleming stood by and watched the arrest as Ms. Brown was being taken to the patrol car. Let's get to the little girl, because that's actually where I'm frightened. The mom said the neighbor was permitted to have custody of RZ, that's what they call her, because she was 11-year-old at the time of this. Neighbor was permitted to have custody of RZ at the time. Britton told Ms. Brown he was just following orders, and if she didn't like it, she could take it to the next level. Britton escorted RZ, an 11-year-old girl, to the police car and placed her in its front seat while her mom was in the back. An 11-year-old girl, put her in false arrest, an 11-year-old girl, and placed her mom, was already in the back seat. The officers took Miss Brown and RZ to the Pine Lawn jail. Britton was the driver. At the Pine Lawn jail, Britton and Fleming escorted RZ into an interrogation room and Miss Brown into a holding cell. An 11-year-old girl. This is who you have patrolling our streets. This is who you have as a school resource officer in our school with my son and your children. You have not done your homework, Mr. Chief Weidman. Ms. Brown alleges she was arrested in retaliation for not providing the officers with the sought-after information. They were looking for her husband. Britton kicked out her door. Britton held down her daughter, made her watch the scene. I don't know what kind of wool you guys got over your eyes, but this is our town. This is who you pay. This is who we pay. These are not our decisions. These are yours. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. So much. What he did to this 11-year-old little girl, and this is just the lawsuit we could get a hold of. This came from the Lincoln County Journal reporter. You guys are all being watched.
She had to get an order of protection 2 years into that. Imagine living in that
She
neighborhood.
had to get an order of protection even though she lived in the ghetto because she was afraid of Britain. Her daughter still isn't okay.
Soulless.
So when you sit up there, this is an important job. I don't care if you make $150 a month or $500 a month. You are representing my children. Your children. Then I get a Facebook message from someone I don't even know. I'm not going to mention this man's name, but he is also affiliated with Matt Arcuff and Britain. He just messaged me one day out of the blue, and he has asked me to keep his identity secret until it's time for the civil lawsuit. What happened between you and Britain? Just curious. Do I know you, I say? Sorry, no. I saw your post, and I used to know Brian until he did some things. He's not a good cop at all. This was on October 16th. He says, we used to be friends at one time, not anymore, though. I haven't talked to him or seen him in 5 years, and I won't. We were friends for a long time. He's scum. This guy has a multi-million-dollar business. He's not just some Joe Schmo. He has a long record. I was 16 when I met him. This man's 42 now. He worked in Calverton Park. I didn't know what he was actually doing back then. Just know he was a cop then and got fired. He needs his post revoked. I know he has an extensive FBI file on him, which I have a copy of. He does. Extensive FBI file. They have multiple investigations on him. He has multiple civil cases against him, too. Personal lawsuits. Have him look into things at Pine Lawn as well. He's toxic. He's very bad. I wrote him a personal check and told him to stay the fuck away from me and my family. This guy paid him off to stay away from him. He thinks he's above the law. If he knows he did something wrong and doesn't want to get caught, he would do whatever it takes to silence you. Hence the 4 black guys that showed up at my house at 8:30 p.m. around the damn corner to where I had to leave my house for 7 days and flee to another state because I was scared that I was going to get shot. With my daughter, I threw her in the floorboard of my car. You guys know about it. You made fun of me. He says there's a lot of people that would like to kill him. Really? Look up sexual things with a minor on him. I'm not sure, but investigators would know. Probably need to call the FBI and have them look into what's going on. He always has young boys at his house, or did. Just seemed weird. I was 11 years younger than him, and there was always someone my age or younger around. Always said it was a nephew or something. This is Britain. This is when this guy was 16 years old and he worked with him at that movie theater. He's known for being super aggressive against people. This guy was actually a cop one time too. He once beat a guy in the parking lot at 70 in Mid Rivers off duty and claimed self-defense when he walked up and started it. He can't get on a real police station because of his record. Apparently, we don't check him. He said, I wanted to be a cop, so I got to ride along sometimes. He worked, this is recently, he worked for me part-time. He stole from me, and I refused to pay him, and that's when he sued me for money. He stole tools and money from me, and I asked him, what was the situation with the underage girl? He said, it was never a girl. It was a boy. Don't know what came of it, though. This is his words. I walked in on him and his so-called nephew. That's what Britain used to call these boys that he had hanging out at his house. Laying on the couch in their underwear. A boy that was like 13. And Britain, who was 30, laying on their couch in their underwear. Again, not sure if anything was going on, but very weird. How many times do you lay on the couch with your nephew in your underwear? He's trying to hide something. I hope you fight this as hard as you can and don't let him win again. I know he was a Warren County sheriff, maybe a jailer, but he was there before Calverton Park. Maybe you should start there, Whiteman. I said, what made you say he had FBI investigations? He said he told me one day. It was when he was at Calverton Park. I saw a video of him pulling a black lady out of a car with force and slamming her to the ground one night. Apparently she wasn't listening to him, but he sent the video to cops so they would air it. He was proud of it. Very sad. He said that's when he said all cops have an FBI record. He said they don't, laugh out loud, just the bad ones. He said, like I said, caught my attention. I was hoping he would never get a badge again. Now he has one, and it's way too close to home for me. He's been fired from all of his jobs, as far as I know. He goes a couple years without a badge, then gets one somewhere and keeps posts, I guess. I just hoped he was too old to keep doing it anymore. Makes you wonder about all these girls missing in Lincoln County now, as if maybe he has something to do with it. Not saying he does, just suspicious. I told him about my arrest. He put his hand on his weapon to get me out of my car. He said he does that. He has his hand on his weapon constantly. I'm not the first one. There's like 40 of us. He said, I guarantee you're not the only victim. You have to keep pushing until you find the person that can help you. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Right here. Brian Britton. You want a copy? Here it is. You want a copy? Did you make a check on him? You didn't even check him. And now David Meyer has been maced to the point he had
lung damage.
Literally. Blisters inside of his lungs. Brent let out a whole can of mace on him for tall grass. Here's another gentleman that just messaged me because he's seen comments. And this gentleman ended up opening a very successful business in Winfield. Said he was going to open here, but he didn't because of Britain and the city administration. I said, do I know you? He said, no, but I enjoyed your Winfield comments, especially about the dirty cops. I've been digging up his skeletons. I have made a few calls with some cop connections and lawyers. He has only given me a few bullshit tickets. It's just the way our interactions went down. And this guy's like this. I could tell he was probably a problem. Winfield better wise up. I was going to open a business here and decided not to do it in the city limits. Just a bad, small town vibe from the city. You guys are running out businesses. Literally. How many more elections are we going to have unopposed? Not the next one.
Nope.
I read the article on him. He has a temper. I could tell he wanted to get at me. I hurt his feelings bad. Of course this guy did. He's a bodybuilder. So he kept pulling me over. Then we got lawyers involved because they got lots of money. See, that's one thing we don't have. And then we started pulling body cam video. That shuts him up real fast. He won't last long. Let's get to my arrest report that you signed off on, even though you were there when I got arrested. You just didn't get out of your car until after he threw me in the back. But it's all bullshit. It's all falsified. Even my lawyer said so. This is a DUI arrest report? Really? First, let's start with the caution codes that Britain entered into my own personal record. So let's say I haven't been pulled over since 2014. Well, let's say right now I run that stop sign and Officer Brown pulls me over. What's it going to say about me? I have a mental condition. I am known to abuse drugs. This is on my permanent record. This is not a goddamn joke. This man has the authority to put this on my permanent record. I'm an alcoholic. I'm suicidal. Medication is required. You want to see it? You approved it, right? Didn't you? You think that this is funny when I have my 2-year-old daughter? And I get pulled over and all of a sudden my car gets fucking searched because it says I'm a drug user? My emotional state was angry, crying, irrational, and threatening. Well, of course, I almost died in the back of that squad car. I could read this whole report, which isn't very long. Let's just go ahead and read it. I have nothing to hide. It's totally falsified, and you're going to be in trouble because you approved it, and you were there. And this is another thing that's being investigated by Joel Plant. On 8/1/22 at approximately 17:05 hours, I stopped a 2015 Jeep Cherokee in reference to a threat of violence and possible intoxication subject from Holman Road. What he fails to mention on his police report is that he was looking for a Jeep Wrangler. But he pulls me over in a Jeep Cherokee. I was contacted by dispatch and told Lincoln County deputies responded to 145 Main Street, Holman Road, Main Street Bar and Grill, in reference to a woman threatening customers and refusing to leave. The customer reportedly left the scene prior to the deputies' arrival. During their investigation, it was learned the female had threatened customers with physical violence and threatened to return with a gun to shoot everyone. You know me. A description was given, not a name, a description of a tall, blonde, wearing a pink bikini top, driving a Jeep Wrangler. That's it. That's it. And I was pulled over in a tinted-ass car where you can't even see inside, Jeep Cherokee, 45 minutes later. He says, this is Britain, I was familiar with a person matching that description. Was he? A tall, blonde, wearing a pink bikini top, driving a Jeep Wrangler? He was familiar with me? Who lived in Winfield? Angela Dye lives at 313 Sharp, and she is known to drive a black Jeep. He refuses to acknowledge that it was a Wrangler and not a Cherokee. Frequent bars and has a violent temper. Sure I did, 10 fucking years ago. As I approached the corner of Highland and Sharp, I saw the black Jeep with Dye driving, wearing a peach-colored t-shirt, which is bullshit, because you both were behind me, 500 feet, couldn't see shit. And I could see a pink-orange strap at her neck. Come on. Knowing she had threatened to return with a gun and the fact she was traveling away from her home, I stopped to inquire if she had been involved in an incident in the Old Monroe bar. I then asked her to step from the vehicle, and she rolled up her window and ignored me. I tried to open her door. However, it was locked. Chief Wyven arrived on scene to assist. That sounds like you just pulled up. You were right behind him. You never got out of your vehicle. You never got out of your vehicle until he threw me in the back of that squad car, which was 160 degrees. Did you hear me screaming for 14 minutes that I couldn't fucking breathe? You guys have an 8-inch plexiglass thing that goes across like this and divides the back seat. It was 115 degrees that day. No air. You never got out of your truck until he started searching my vehicle. Then you got out. This makes it sound like you just pulled up and you were waiting for the tow truck. You falsified a report too. And not only was that not good enough, just like my lawyer Vince Johnson said, so what's Britton do the next day? I come here to get a copy of my police report, because I still wasn't really quite sure what I was charged with. And my license and my insurance card. And right after I left, what's he do? He goes to different counties to do an investigation on how much I had to drink. Did I hit anyone? Even if I was drinking and driving, which I was not, but did I